G'day viewers, the end of another week brings us to yet another totally fucked up Friday. And hey, because of time differences, I don't yet have totally fucked up stories about anyone getting trampled to death in the Black Friday sales in the US. Which, yes, in case you're wondering, Americans, the entire rest of the world thinks is very fucking strange. But there might be something in that to talk about next week. This week, look, I'm going to start very quickly, closer to home, the Australian government. I spent time talking last week about how fucked they'd managed to be in the very short time they've been in power. And they've kind of been worse in the last week. And again, there's a few things to pick on, but my personal favourite was the funding plan for schools in Australia. Now, the previous Labor government just managed to get some sort of deal with the majority of the governments, and the state governments, these were governments all run by the Conservative Party, the same party that ended up winning the federal election. So, and for Labor to put in a policy that the state Conservative parties agreed with was no mean feat, because they're all tying the line for Tony Abbott and his crew, saying any Labor policy has to, by definition, be bad. That's what you do when you're a politician, but it still gets pretty fucking tiresome. But yes, several of the biggest state governments signed up for this. And it was like, you know, the 5-year plan. And look, funding for education is always a political football, and all sides are guilty of talking shit. But when the Liberal Party said, because this had been accepted by the state governments, they said that, okay, we're going to stick by this, okay? You can plan your futures. You've got this plan. The state government went, okay. And then, just in the first couple of months of being in power, the Libs, through their charming education minister, one Christopher fucking Pyne, who I may have mentioned before, is my least favourite politician in all of Australia. And given my opinion of politicians, that's bad. But yeah, he's gone and said, oh no, we're going to throw that out. Fuck that. That's not our policy. We're going to throw it out. And just no. And you could argue, look, yeah, they've got the right to do that, the government. Yeah, the warning signs are, A, when the other Conservative state governments lose their fucking minds over it. And there's a link to an article below. If you want to see what politicians say when they mean, I'm gonna cut a motherfucker, read that. Because it's like, we have no surety for the future. They're fuming at what he said to them. And they're supposedly on the same side. And they clearly want to fucking kill the guy. And if that's not enough of an indicator for you of how fucked up this government was, I have actually seen Murdoch-owned conservative media outlets straight up calling them liars, because prior to the election they said this, and after they said the complete opposite. Now mind you, that is pretty much every single policy, every single position they announced before the election. They said this, and now they're saying that. But yeah, when Murdoch's cheerleaders start calling you a liar, you might have fucked up. But you know, in all of this, who I have no time for, anyone who fucking voted for these pieces of shit believing what they said. If you are that fucking stupid, if your head is that far up your fucking ass, that's the problem. If you're upset with them now, like if you voted for them thinking one thing, but now you're upset, you're fucking... Look, at least if you voted for them and you're still happy with them, you've got what you want. I might disagree with you, but at least you have what you want. But if you're the sort of fucking moron who believed their obvious lies and is now going, oh no, they lied! You're a dickhead and I fucking hate you, okay? Local politics, gone. Hey, why don't I do something really depressing? I have brought up before, every now and then with all my wacky stories, is, you know what's the real problem the world's facing? A face-off that's happening in Asia. And I have brought this up before, but it's reared up in the news again this week. There is a little group of islands, they're currently controlled by Japan, but China has said, no, actually they're controlled by us, despite all appearances to the contrary. And it's actually more complicated than that. The same area is disputed by Japan, China, South Korea, and Taiwan. And China this week said, no, you know what? It's ours. And we're going to have patrols, aerial patrols in this area. And if anyone flies in this area without clearance from us, we're going to fuck their shit up. And Japan has just gone, fuck you, and has flown flights there anyway. Nothing's happened yet. The US has basically said, fuck you to China, which hasn't gone over well with China. But basically, this has the potential to be an actual problem. I know the media and particularly conservative politicians around the world have gone, oh, the Muslims are our biggest problem. And yes, you know what? There are some complete fucking arsehole people and governments that under the name of Islam want to do fuck things, but they don't have armies like China's, and they don't do shit like this. That's when it gets real, okay? Individual fuckwits or small groups of fuckwits who want to spread fear, disruption, chaos, panic, and death, they're bad. Really fucking big countries with really fucking big militaries that want to play games of international brinkmanship, that's where shit gets seriously fucked up. I considered ending on that, but I thought that was far too depressing. So I have to go on with a silly story now. And this is one of those ones, the headline. You had me at the headline. You got a cute one that's like, drunk naked man fought officers in hospital. That sounds pretty good, okay? It comes from the US, and it's a dude pissed off his skull. In fact, the blood alcohol level they report for him sounds almost fatal to me. But anyway, they've arrested him. In the back of a squad car, he's just started smashing his face into the grill, cut his head up. So they've taken him to hospital. And hospital, he sees fit to rip his pants off, fights with her, makes a bit of a scene, you know, not a lot of win in this guy's life. The article's worth reading just because of the really dry nature of the police report, reporting the way this guy fucks up. But this guy actually pales into insignificance compared to just probably the best headline story I've seen this week, which comes out of the UK, and it involves a guy who was hurling racist abuse in a hotel, naked, masturbating, with a fire extinguisher hose jammed up his ass. And I've often thought, you know what? There's a lot of racism about, and maybe your particular racism isn't getting noticed. You need to up it a bit. You know, the naked bit might get you a bit more noticed. You know, the playing with yourself and pissing on the floor while doing it, yeah, that's going to get a bit more notice. But if you're serious about your insane racist rants, you need to be jamming a fire extinguisher hose up your clacker, or nobody's gonna notice you anymore. And one of my other favourite things this guy did while he's shouting abuse at people, it's like, I'm from Sheffield! Which undoubtedly made everyone else from Sheffield just, oh, shut the fuck up! I don't want to put up with jokes for the next however long about people saying, sure you don't want to jam a fire extinguisher up your ass while you say that, matey. It's just, it's like with friends like that, who needs enemies? And so he's got on this racist tirade. And again, the article, my favourite bits, and you know, it's hard to pick a favourite in a story like this, but again, it's the really dry reporting from the police report, which says things like the hotel staff member who copped the racial abuse saying, go back to Pakistan, is actually from Bangladesh. It's a different country, but when you're racist, that doesn't matter. You're stupid to start with, so you don't actually have to get your facts straight. So a guy called Mr. Hassan, and he was watching on the CCTV, and this guy comes out of a storage cupboard naked, and he's urinating on the carpets, and then Hassan notices he has got the fire extinguisher and jammed it up his ass, and he's masturbating in the hall. And then this nice bit at the end, Hassan called the police. As you do. Okay, so I share this with you just because you think you might have fucked up sometimes. You think you might have seen someone fuck up. You think you might have seen as bad as people can get. But that's why Totally Fucked Up Friday exists. To show you, you might think you've seen the worst of humanity, but there's always someone worse.